let's get to it. Good evening, foundational Black Americans. A couple questions. I got questions for you. What is good hair? What that mean? I got a little treat for you. I found out on the on the west coast of Africa. I learned a little something about good hair, and I wrote about it and published it. Should foreigners speak on our reparations? I had an interesting experience a moment ago, um, where I just spoke in a space. I generally don't do that, but um, just follow somebody I like into a space, and had a pretty decent discussion until I started figuring out that foreigners was talking on our damn reparations claim and arguing with me about it. And I was like, you know what? Why are you talking about my reparations claim? This is my lineage. This is my country. Why? What is it to you? You know. And last but not least, are anchor babies are anchor babies Black American? Is that a thing? I don't know everything. Y'all tell me. So let's talk a little bit about good hair. Now, my lady said good hair is hair that grows on your head. I agree with that. If it's yours and it's growing, it's good, right? Oh, well, what did I find out? I'm glad. Don't mess with me, y'all. Oh man, can I be serious, please? Um, well, this shit's actually deep. I spent some time last time I went to uh West Africa. I spent a good bit of time in Ghana. And when I was in Ghana, I learned something, man. This is what I learned at Elmina Castle. Well, let's put it this way: there's two main slave, and I hate saying the term castle, but that's the official term. There are two slave dungeons off the coast of Ghana. It's called Cape Coast. Now, these were the main. They're like car dealerships where enslaved Africans were sold. Uh, the majority of my lineage is Native Black, like Native American, to be specific, Tuscaloosa tribe. The Tuscaloosa means Black Warrior, which is ironic because University of Alabama, Roll Tide Roll, the most foundational, the most dominant society school on the planet is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And nobody says that Tuscaloosa is a tribe. It's the Black Warriors, which my mom is linked to that tribe. My mom is linked to Black Warriors, Choctaw, and there is a little creek running around in there. But anywho, um, off the coast of Cape Coast. Well, the reason why I brought that up is my dad. His mother is indigenous. My grandmother, my late grandmother Max, is. I always like that name for a lady, Max. I said if I had a daughter, I might name her Maxine. But anyway, her lineage is a split between indigenous and Caucasian because of all the rape and amalgamation that went on in Virginia. Well, my dad's dad, we've linked him to a uh, plantation in North Carolina that goes back to Cape Coast. Well, when I was at Elmina Castle, I learned something that pissed me the fuck off. What I learned was the Portuguese who created the word, to my understanding, the word Negro. That was the Portuguese designated the enslaved Africans as Negro. Now, um, one of our scholars said it was Necro, which means the dead. But I'm not going to argue that point because Negro obviously in Spanish and in Portuguese means black. So I'm not going to argue what their meaning was, but what I was told in Elmina and with some scholarship is that it came from the Portuguese. If somebody knows something other, please, counter me with that and educate me because I don't know everything.
Negro in Portuguese, you
Yes,
mean?
ma'am. Well, no, no, no.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Well, wanting my question, what I was taught. Let me tell you what I was taught, and counter me if I'm wrong. I was taught that the designation of Negro on blacks came from the Portuguese. Is that true?
You mean
Calling black people Negro. That's what they said. It. Go ahead.
that's black though? So that word means black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Greek people related that word to the color black a long time ago. So
Okay.
mm, if they decided to call you black, then that's what they would like. If they made a decision, we're going to call these people black, then they would call you that. And, and the Spanish would call you Negro. So
Okay. Okay. So it goes back to Greek.
now the part where it's related to being dead, I got to look that up, but I've never seen that before. Who was saying that, by the way?
I'm trying to think of the scholar's name. He's dead. He was an engineer, Dr. Delbert Blair. It came to me. Delbert Blair said that. Well, first I was told at Elmina Castle. Well, no, first I read that Delbert Blair, Dr. Delbert Blair, said that Negro means necro. Um, um, it's a misnomer. According to Dr. Delbert Blair, Negro is a misnomer for necro, which means the dead, like the unaware, like just people to do whatever with. That's what Delbert Blair said. And Elmina Castle, we were told that Negro, the designation of Negro as an identifier for African people, came from the Portuguese, who just named us Negro. I don't know if either one of those are true. What I'm hearing you say is a Greek first said it, right?
Yeah, they were relating it to like dark, scary waters type of thing. So I'll look it up. I'm looking it up now.
Okay, let me know when you come to a conclusion on that. Well, back to good hair. So the Portuguese were uh, looking for a way to create a racial hierarchy to use us as enslaved. And they came up with a real filthy, brilliant idea. Just filthy as hell. Brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a hard one to hear. I tell my students trigger warning. If you're triggered, just hit mute or leave the space. But well, anyway, um, at Elmina Castle, and I'll put pictures up momentarily, in the middle of Elmina, and likewise at Cape Coast, Slave Castle, there was the what they call the governor's mansion. So imagine like a prison with a courtyard in the middle. I'll put pictures up shortly. At the governor's mansion is where the Portuguese, they called him the governor, where the white folks and the soldiers, the Portuguese soldiers would stay in that little barracks. Around where the on the left side were the female enslaved girls and women. On the right side were the male enslaved boys and men. To the north was a church. We'll get to the church in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, the Portuguese wanted to figure out a way to cause racial division amongst the enslaved to better, as a function of control, to control them, keeping us from coming together and banging up against them. Well, one thing they did immediately was put enslaved people who spoke different languages in Elmina and at Cape Coast. But the filthy, brilliant idea that they had to reinforce this division was to every morning rape uh, a young lady from the female side. Now they would rape her in full view of the women looking through the bars and the men looking through the bars. Now, the first functionality of their rape was to show the women that the men, yeah, it's hard to hear, the men were useless, i.e., I'm having my way with you in full view of men and women, and the men can't save you. Like, watch me do this. You got it? Now, the main function of having their way with the innocent young ladies was to get them pregnant. Listen to this shit, ladies and gentlemen. To get them pregnant with a mixed race baby. Now, what I learned is that mixed race baby was put on a whole nother ship that was sent from Elmina to the Caribbean and from Cape Coast to the United States of America. They were creating a mixed race class of the enslaved to serve in a higher position than the other enslaved. They were intentionally creating a lighter skinned, different grade of hair, and telling the rest of the enslaved that these people are better than you, i.e., these people are good, to create division. These mixed race enslaved would have a higher position, be allowed into higher functions of slavery. So the house versus the yard, that dynamic, which I was taught had started in America. I learned started on Cape Coast. I mean on yeah, on the coast of Ghana. So in my book on page 18, I say, quote, many Africans started their slavery process at Elmina Castle in Ghana. The Portuguese slavers would intentionally rape female enslaved Africans with the direct intention of creating a mixed race child. Once the mixed race child was born, he or she was first separated from the mother, then secondly placed on a mixed race ship. The aforementioned mixed race children were then used to sow division amongst the enslaved Africans in the U.S. colonies and the Caribbean. Although mixed race children were still considered slaves, they were often given privileges that the darker enslaved were not provided. The vicious psychological warfare tactic is directly responsible for the concepts of good hair and bad hair in the United States of America and the Caribbean. So I learned that that's where the concept of good hair came from. It came as psychological warfare, coming from the coast of Africa, courtesy of the Portuguese. Now let's talk about the church. That, you remember I said it was a church on the north side of the building. Um, what we learned is they would often hold Christian church service while they were raping these young ladies. The end. Question: Wani, Nikki, what is good hair?
Um,
Our hair is
Not
good hair.
mutated hair. Well, I'll say this. It's white people's hair and everybody else on the earth is mutated. Straight hair is a hair mutation. Blonde hair is a mutation. Okay. Blue eyes is a mutation. And what else? White skin is a mutation. So those are all mutations. So they can't be an improvement. But in terms of taking care of it, yeah, it's hard to take care of hair that's just shooting up in the air. And nobody's wearing their hair like that. And I'm about to post some pictures because people think that if you style your hair, the white man is making you feel bad about your hair and that you should have just been walking around looking like buckwheat, but the white boy made you feel bad. That's not true. Women with this type of hair have been styling it for before there were white men. Okay, they and I'm going to post proof of it. I'm looking for an extra fact. Now back to this word you were discussing, necro and negro. So necro is an ancient Greek word meaning dead body or corpse. It's related to darkness indirectly. While it doesn't mean black, death and decay are often associated with darkness. And it's in front of the words necromancy, necropolis, and necrosis. And that's death of body tissue. So now when we talk about Negro, that's from Latin niger, which means black. It directly means black, specifically in terms of color, and it was historically used to refer to people of African descent here in America. Modern context, it's now considered outdated and offensive. Really? I hadn't noticed. Um, so they're lying on here saying that our name is saying that the word black is offensive. White actually means death in Asia. So if they see me wearing a white outfit, they feel slightly offended or that maybe somebody died. I shouldn't be wearing it. So we can play the name games with uh, what colors mean. There's nothing wrong with black, and it doesn't mean death per se. It's just that necro can shift over into meaning dark. Dark and black are not the same thing, so that's a stretch. Necro is from the Greek word negro, meaning black is Latin. So it's kind of it's different. So we're not dead. Hello.
I'm here, Wani.
Hey,
He's on a mute.
Kenzo. Wait.
I think good hair is hair um that lice are not attracted to. Good hair. Good hair is
And
hair
lice.
that go ahead, man.
That's right. Lice are very picky, and they only like certain people's pheromones. Yes, pheromones, hair structure. They only like certain ones, and they don't like ours. So hooray! And they actually brought that adapted lice over here uh, to terrorize anybody else over here that had straight hair, which it doesn't terrorize them because even though when we look at people, like if you look at an Asian person, you see straight hair, but that is not, their hair is not like a white person's straight hair. You can look it up on Google and see close up. That lice is like, no, this one's still, the lice is like Goldilocks. This one is a little too thick and heavy, and this one is too coily and thick, and this one is just right. And I'm going to stick on it. And so that's why they have it.
Wow. Yeah, I was on a mute. I was searching for a picture to show you guys in my like the 1,000 pictures in my phone. I want to show y'all the courtyard, but Wani, before I even go there, that's interesting. So, has there been cases where lice adhere to our type of hair?
Sure,
Or they
sure.
just
Yes.
avoid it?
We have had lice, but if given a choice, the lice want white people's hair. This is documented, and I'll give you the quote from the doctor. He said lice prefer um, white people's hair, but he also said because it's longer, that's not true. That isn't true. That's not because it's long. He was trying to give them a little compliment while telling everybody their hair is infested. They also tried to say, "Oh, you have grease in your hair." It's nothing to do with grease. It's nothing to do with perms. Nothing to do with nothing. It has to everything to do with the lice being adapted to European hair over time. Lice, see, if it was about long hair, then you wouldn't see a lice on a sheep's ass. That's curly as hell. Or a buffalo's ass. That's curly as well. So the lice like short curly hair. They just don't like us because we don't have the right pheromones to attract them. We don't have the
Wow.
right hair structure, and we have things about our hair that they do not like. Thank you very much.
Well,
And they like European hair. Go ahead, Nikki.
this really
Yeah.
happened. I'm in Milwaukee, so this really happened. It happened maybe 20 years ago when I was going to college for something completely different. Um, we were talking about lice, and this was when I was up in Green Bay, and they were talking about somebody, I guess a white person asked them why don't black people get it, and the teacher says, well, lice, they are just very clean. They're very clean. They like to lay their eggs on clean surfaces. Wouldn't you want to lay your eggs in a clean spot? So
No,
they
she didn't
say
say that.
shit like that to try to justify it. What
Right.
makes us has good hair? Our hair is not sulfur based, meaning we don't smell like dogs when we get wet. Okay? I've walked
Mm.
into a restaurant where it was raining and there was a bunch of white people in there, and because they were out riding their bikes, they didn't expect to get wet. It smelled like straight up dog in there, and that's because they have a sulfur base. They don't even have the same genetics as us. They're not even built like us. So
They don't have hair. They got fur.
that's what I was told.
That's what Dr. John Henry Clark
Since
said.
They
My
have
bad. I
hair,
don't
but
mean to
it's
interrupt.
just the kind of hair that lice like, and they're not going to stop liking it. They've been liking it and adapting themselves to it, and they don't like Asian hair, so they don't stick on the Native Americans or Chinese people or Mexicans as much. Yes, they can get them, but the lice prefer the others. Now, I mean, if you rub your hair on each other, like say some little girls playing around and they're sharing the same pillow or something, and they're not white, they could possibly get lice. You have to be going all out of your way, though.
Yeah. So I'm about to put some pictures in the Jumbotron now. And my phone was really giving me hell about putting these pictures in here. So if you look at those pictures I just dropped in the purple pill, they're on the way to the Jumbotron. This is a picture, ladies and gentlemen, of what I was talking about with respect to the good hair. So number one, if you look at the picture of me with my favorite little gold Air Max. By the way, those gold Air Max, I rarely wear them. They were brand new, basically. They were about a year old, but I'd never wear them, and I wore them to Africa, and it was some enzymes in those water that dissolved the bubble. Those of you who ever had Air Max, have like a bubble on the bottom. It dissolved the bubble on like they my shoes came apart like somebody put some type of acid on them, which I thought was very interesting. That's beside the point. But if you see where I'm standing at Elmina Castle. Elmina is where Caribbean enslaved people came from and were shipped to the Caribbean and Jamaica and Puerto Rico and the like. Now, what's interesting distinction is behind me. You see like a road going up the hill. That's where the Africans that would become enslaved Americans um, came from. It's called Cape Coast. Now, keep in mind, we were kept on the hill in our own separate area. So the question I want y'all to think about is why were we separated? Just think on that for a minute. I don't really have know an answer, but we were mutually exclusive. The question I have, were we separated because we had more knowledge? Were we the builders and the architects? Just a thought. Now, going to the right, remember I told you it was a governor's mansion where the Portuguese would hang out? Okay, if you look at that governor's mansion, looks like a little, what do you call it? It was like a row house. At the top, I mean, at the bottom would be the Portuguese soldiers, like prison guards and soldiers. And at the top was the governor, the warden. That's the way I think of him. Every morning, that warden would walk down, and again, trigger warning, because this is kind of hard to hear. He would walk down and go to the right, well, our left, but if he was standing out, his right, and pick a female to have his way with. He would have his way with her in the courtyard. You see how everybody can look and see what's going on? That was intentional. Now, if the enslaved young lady said, "No, I'm not doing this," or was not cooperative, I don't know if they're out in the courtyard, but there were like these little cannonballs with a chain on them. He would chain the female out in the courtyard and starve them to death in front of everybody to make a point. It's called environmental learning. For you geeks in here, that's called Vygotsky's the theory of environmental learning. Now on our right, his left, were the men. Every once in a while, the enslaved men would be like, "Fuck this," and break out to like beat the shit out of them or try to kill them or whatnot. They created a room just for men that would rebel to try to help the women. It was the whole. Now, this is a little interesting fact that I didn't put in my book. I need to put it in. I need to write this down. But that building with the skull and crossbone on it, that was for the men who tried to help, and they would throw them in there in 100-degree heat and 110% humidity, and starve them to death in the hole. So this was environmental learning to break the female's trust in the man and break the man's trust in himself. In that courtyard, that slimy, nasty ass courtyard, the concept of good hair as we know it in America was created. Now, what Juan is saying is true. Hair styles were facilitated a long time ago. I did some research when I got off work in Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop's book and saw that the Egyptians would do hairstyles. So there's always been a form of hairstyling, but the concept for the purpose of this room of good hair, meaning hair that's more European, was intentionally created on the nasty ass floors of Elmina Castle in the picture you see. Hair was weaponized against us.
I'm going to put some pictures of um, this type of hair being styled before the European said what he said about us while cheating on his wife with us for hundreds of years. Apparently, whatever we had going on was not uh, repellent, or else all these new ethnicities would not exist in the Caribbean, South America, and in North America. Hey, Twizzle, what's up?
What up, Twizzle?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Can you hear me?
Hey, Twiz to the is. Oh,
What's up, Professor? What's up, Nick? What's up, Wani? Blah, blah, blah. I see you,
black,
Cash.
black, black.
Y'all
What's
hella
going on,
funny.
Twizzle?
Y'all hella funny. Y'all have me over here rolling, especially Wani. When we come down to the hair thing, I remember when I was growing up, we used to call it fine hair. You know what I'm saying? And that's what my mother used to say about me, like, boy, you got fine hair. Sister Wani, I know you old enough to remember this. Remember when Jerry curls came out? When the curls came out in the early 80s? I wanted a curl so bad, but my mother told me I couldn't have one because my hair was too fine. She said, all you have to do is just wet it with grease and you have a curl. We don't have to do that. You know what I mean? So my whole family had Jerry curls, and I'm the only one there with a curly fro, madder than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But that's the difference with our hair and everybody else hair, like Sister Wani was saying. I remember Booker T. Coleman spoke about this on Tariq's documentary, Hidden Colors, when he talked about our black people, and a young dude spoke about this. A young dude, a 16-year-old dude, he said this, that us black people, we are the only ones with hair. Everybody else has fur. You know what I'm saying? Because our hair is the only one that's flat and it grows up towards the sun. Everybody else hair grows down and it covers their body. Like Sister Wani was saying with the lice. The lice like going through that fine hair because it's easier for them to maneuver. And everybody in here who had pets, who had fleas, you see how them fleas used to run through their hair. They would just run through there like they were surfers. So that's how the lice
Facts.
is with the white people hair. You know what I'm saying? They can maneuver and move through that quicker than ours because ours is more dense and ours is more coarse. Their hair is so straight and so fine, like a shoulder straw, to where it's like they're running around with a head full of spaghetti. You know what I mean? They can swim through that and run through it like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? So we black people, we are the only ones with hair because, as I say, ours is flat. And this is for the men in the room. Whenever we shave, we are never, ever, ever to shave with a razor because our hair is flat. So therefore, when our hair grows, it's going to grow into a spiral. You know what I'm saying? If our skin,
That's when them
yeah,
bumps come
that's where
from.
hair bumps come from. Because if you shave with a razor, it's going to cut you so close and so fine to where your skin, your hair follicles, your hair pores will close. So when the hair tries to grow back, it won't break through the skin. So that's why you see a lot of niggas that use razors. You can tell because they have bad skin and hella hate razor bumps up under there. That's a come black man is not supposed to use those straight razors like them straight faced white people and them Asians do because their hair is straight. So it's going to pierce the skin. You know, their hair is straight like a soda straw. Ours is flat like a ribbon. And if it doesn't have enough skin to grow through, you know what I'm saying? It's just going to constantly grow. Then we have them hair bumps. And once you bust that hair bump, that hair come out looking like a little spring or a coil. You know what I'm saying? That's
Hey,
why we are the
Twizzle.
real natural people. And
Hey,
it's like,
hey, Twizzle.
huh?
You telling the truth, bro? Because I got a hair bump on my neck from shaving last week. Man, I don't know, Nikki. How am I gonna get rid of this? Like, I can't get rid of this hair
What
bump.
you do is put hot water on it and you gotta bust it. And once you bust it, you got to get that little you got to get that little hair, that little white head up out of there and just rub it with alcohol. Whenever you shave, the first thing you do, you shave, hop in the shower, soap it up real good. And if you're new to shaving, the first thing and the best thing and the most important thing when you do right after you get out the shower, Tap your face with alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Why? Because that alcohol opened those pores back up. So therefore, once that hair start growing, it's going to go through an open chute. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes us so unique in these other, these other so-called, you know what I mean? That's why they get that. But Sister Ronnie was right. And Nikki, too, when you said when they get wet, they elude a certain smell because that's their secret. Water reveals them. They have to bathe and
That's
wash their hair
sulfur.
two
They
times a
they
day
have
because if
sulfur.
not, yeah. And if they don't wash their hair, that hair start giving off that scent and that odor, and that's what attracts them
That's
lice.
what the
Because it's
lice like.
known, yes, it's known if they don't bathe, if they don't wash their hair once a day, they'll have lice by tomorrow. That's how they are. And you forgot one thing, Wani, their birth defects, their mutation. You forgot one out of every four Neanderthal has a tail. You know what I mean? That's the side effects for them not producing melanin, transparent skin, blonde hair and blue and green eyes, and a prehensile tail. You know what I mean? It's out of one out of every four
And
white men that
nobody's
have
even
it, but
saying
they
it.
try
There's
to.
there's scientific data to back up
Yeah, and
that.
this is
Yeah.
I
scientific fact.
put
Not only that, this is the law of nature.
put
You
something
know,
in the jumbotron. The first thing shows what this Dr. Mervin said, and he tried to give them an out by saying they have long hair, but that's not true. We already went over the fact that lice, they like buffalo butts, and those are curly, and they actually are so curly that the Buffalo Soldiers were called Buffalo Soldiers because they had curly hair like buffalo.
curly hair and brown
And
eyes and the fierceness and the ferociousness
and
of the buffalo.
sheep
That's why they were called
sheep are
buffalo soldiers.
curly and they have lice as well. So curly animals also have lice. So it's not the straight hair. It's something that the lice has adapted. I used to think that it's because they have Neanderthal genetics, but it's not because the Aboriginals and the Negritos have that as well. Pretty healthy amounts of Neanderthal and Denisovan genetics, and they don't have lice. So they have all kinds of hair, straight, curly, loopy, afros. So and they don't have that. See now, see in the second, I put that one. That's the first one. In the second slide on the jumbotron, I posted some women's hairstyles, and it just goes to show you that women style their hair. These are ancient hairstyles. They were around before the European. You can see the Ethiopian woman. She's got a cool Edward Scissorhands afro. Now, I put a quote in the tweet. There was a West African man that didn't want us. I have to find the article, but I put all the information about the article. It was on newspapers.com. And Africans were angry, get this, angry that we were wearing afros. They wanted nothing to do with it, said it was like crazy looking. Get rid of that thing. So they have nothing to do with afros. They said we invented it, but we didn't because I just showed you an Ethiopian woman across the continent who definitely Ethiopian people definitely have afros. They have the men have a style of an afro and women have all kinds of Edward Scissorhands afros in the 1800s. And so they definitely were wrangling those roots. They were styling their hair. And these two women have put things on their hair to soften it. I met with the Himba women, and they have some sort of butter, and they dye their hair with that oak with the it's like a henna, and so they like to color their hair, nothing to do with white people. They've been doing it before white people existed. And they like to straighten it and soften it to make it hang down. Again, nothing to do with being colonized because they're not colonized. They're still walking around doing whatever they want to do. So that's that. They're nomadic. They're a lot of things.
Wow, that's very interesting, and one thing in my studies I've learned is Europeans and their tactic of domination, which everybody in this room knows, divide and conquer, right? One of their military tactics that is very effective is picking up on little idiosyncrasies to divide. So hair, apparently they did their research on hair and figured out that they could divide us on the lines of hair, which was quite effective in the Americas. We're gonna go to Cash Gaines. Go ahead, Cash.
Hey,
Yeah, peace to the room.
Cash.
What's
Hi,
good, y'all?
Cash.
I was looking at one last thing I wanted to speak on, but I'll leave it for another time. Um, yeah, so I was gonna say to the question about good hair. Yeah, I always think about um, Madam C.J. Walker, right? Madam Sarah Breedlove, how she was the first millionaire in America, and it was because of her hair products. You know, that she learned, I believe, from Miss Malone. Don't get me lying on the history, but in my understanding, the whole reason that she got rich though was because not just that black women were trying to take care of their hair, but to be considered quote unquote professional, like you had to have certain hairs as a standard, and the maintenance of them, required certain physical things as well as certain ointments and what I'm saying, the so forth. So I just wanted to mention that in the conversation of what's considered quote unquote good. There's kind of what's considered professional or what's considered, the European beauty standard or what makes them less uncomfortable about what their hair types are. I was looking up the Tignon law or Code Noir, whatever happened in Louisiana,
Right.
uh, right, where they had a law saying that in order you have to cover your hair in order to show that you were formerly enslaved or of the enslaved status. There it is again, right? But I just wanted to mention that. So I guess our hair looks so good, we got to cover it up. uh, um,
Well, Cash, if I may add on to that right quick, brother, not to interrupt you. Yeah, that code noir, the real reason behind women covering that putting those wraps on their head in Louisiana and New Orleans was because those white French boys was so just attracted to them braids, like that they was leaving their wives. Like white men, those French men couldn't like it was like an attraction that they couldn't control. So they made our sisters cover up their hair to keep the white boys from leaving their wife. That's a fact.
right, right. Um, I wanted to also mention, 'cause I think this is what you were postulating a bit at the beginning. Don't let me misrepresent you, but it seems as though quote unquote good hair is essentially kind of like white folks choosing our heroes for us, in that it's a residual idea of colorism working essentially as like a Willie Lynch letter trope, right? Instead of talking about who has the lighter skin, we're talking about who has the lighter hair in a way, right? Or the easier to use or closer to get towards the quote unquote professional standard. I wanted to mention the Crown Act just in case no one else gets a chance to. The fact that a lot of us are fighting to have our natural hair, sing true in modern day, especially in sports. Um, and yeah, and I just want to make sure I'm a part of this conversation when we get to smacking the hand of those speaking against our reparations. Thank God for letting me speak.
Oh yeah, and Cash, like man, I tell you that whole ideology and rules of grooming standards with hair is so it's not fair, man. Like when I used to serve, when I was in uniform, like that's one of the only things I kept getting in trouble for is my hair. Like I would cut my hair the same way that Caucasian men would cut, like I shave it on the sides and get it cut on the top a little bit, and I would always get in trouble. And I'd be like, "Man, my hair is the same length as theirs, but it's just not It's not fair. Given the fact my hair wouldn't like lay down. I got in trouble for it. So you're right. Grooming stand. We're getting attacked for our hair. You know what I'm saying? That needs to be
And
addressed.
Professor, one last thing is, I seen a meme one time with a black woman's silhouette, and it said, "My hair defies gravity, my skin absorbs light. My hair defies gravity, my skin absorbs light." That really stood out to me. I just wanted to shout that out.
That's beautiful, man. Beautiful. All right, we're gonna go to I think it was who was next, y'all? Kush.
Think so, yeah.
Go ahead, Kush.
Peace to the room, peace to the room. Good night, everybody. Um, to the topic. First of all, Nikki, yes, my sister works in or has worked in healthcare. Did everything in the hospital from washing windows to doing autopsies and everything in between, literally. And that's one thing she always says to me. She's like, sis, the base makeup of non-melanated people is that sulfur base. That's why they smell that way. So it's not just water, but any type of liquid that gets on them. If they sweat, they're going to smell like that. If rain gets on them, any type of water. The other thing with their hair and them having to wash it so frequently, one thing that I noticed, I'm not around non-melanated people outside of going to work. That's the extent of my interaction with them. But from what I've heard is that a lot of them will focus on mainly washing their hair. Like when they talk about like washing the rest of their body, they don't really focus on washing the rest of their body. Apparently, they have been taught to focus on just washing their hair and then letting the soap suds just do something, whatever. So even just how they're taught, their hygiene is always just focused on the hair piece. But something that I did realize about going to what is good hair and whatever. My grandmother used to do hair, um, or whatever. And probably a lot of us know people who have done hair. Like that's a big thing. I want to say in foundational Black American community, like everybody has probably done some hair, even if it's not on a professional level, you know how to do the basics. And one thing my grandmother said was that like our texture hair, like I have very coily hair and it's like very dense. And I was always told that my hair was, see my air quotes, wicked. And this is what my mother would actually call my hair. She would say it was wicked. And so she put a relaxer in my hair like when I was 4 years old, or probably younger, or whatever, just to straighten it out, make it more manageable. When I actually went natural, I realized that my hair, it actually wasn't very that coarse. A lot of us, even though our hair is very curly, it's not that coarse. It's very manageable if you use the right products and whatever the case may be. But the point that I was going to also make about hair is when people look at the non-melanated people and their hair and how straight it is, a lot of times their hair is also very thin. So a lot of times when we think about, and I've never done the research to confirm this, but they're the people who wear the hair extensions. They're the people who wear the wigs. If you look at over in like Europe and stuff like that, like with their um the judicial system and the fact that they wear wigs. Like they wear wigs a lot over in Europe. But it's as if once Black people started wearing wigs, then it became a negative. But to Cash's point about the Tegan laws, the thing is, Black people have been being forced, and when I say Black, I'm specifically talking foundational Black Americans, we have been being forced to fit into a type of societal norm. And so we wear the wigs because we're told that our hair is something wrong with it. It's not right. It's not white, so it's not right. So we wear the wigs and then we are demonized, or wearing wigs is demonized by us. But the hairstyles that we have worn as protective styles, or whatever the case may be, for instance, braids, wearing our hair back in cornrows and stuff like that, that too is demonized. That's a protective style. But when a Kim Kardashian wears it, oh, it's boxer braids. So the thing is, there's always something, a negative connotation when we do it. But a lot of the origins of things is not because we need it. It's because we're constantly being forced into some type of box that we should not be being forced into. Now I get the mic.
I agree. I'm tired of hearing about when uh, white women wear wigs, nobody even pays attention. It's like, oh, they all have long flowing hair, and that's not true. They're literally going bald. They're the ones that the wig store was made for, not us. They're the ones that's all these extensions. And if they wear extensions, they don't have a heckling section that's saying they have fake hair. They just get to wear the fake hair. It's like assumed that that's their hair. But if we wear some extra hair, or if we want to thicken our hair to look, like a mermaid, then we're criminalized. The only people that ever told me my hair was fucked up were Black women in the neighborhood. They decided my Afro puff was offensive, and gave me a gangster perm. They were like, "Come here, come over here." It was me and my friend, and this lady did hair. She gave us perms We didn't ask for them. We were minding our own business. But she gave us perms, and then my mother was like, "Well, how am I supposed to keep this up?" And then it was, perms and perms ever since. So no white person complained about my Afro puff, just saying that's my experience. Now, I didn't try to wear an Afro puff to my jobs when I was a teenager to see what they would say, but I do know that they harass us about our hair. And then they make all kind. There is a man that is a school teacher, and he has his eyeballs are tattooed. He's got tattoos all over his body, his tongue, his head, and his eyeballs, and he is a teacher. Now, he was a kindergarten teacher, but they fired him from that, but he was able to maintain teaching the rest of the children. This guy looks like the devil, okay? He looks like the devil, and no one's forcing him out. But I bet if a black woman came in there with an afro, like a full-blown black exploitation film afro, they would have something to say about that. That is our hair styled to resist gravity like it already does, and not to hang down, which is something that African women and women with this type of hair have been doing the whole time. They have been doing things to make their hair hang down prior to being colonized. That we have the right to do that, just like white women have the right to dye their hair. Go look up how many white women have naturally blonde hair. They don't have naturally blonde hair. Okay? And they don't have naturally blue eyes. Very tiny percentage. Contact lenses and colors were made for guess who? Not us. Okay? It was made for them. They have colorism issues as well. Vicious colorism issues. Vicious.
Facts.
They like blonde haired, blue eyed children. And if they get one with brown hair and brown eyes, they don't really like it that much. We don't know about it because they're not doing it to us, but they're doing it to each other. So they bleach their hair. You don't know about it because you think all white people have blonde hair. They wear contacts. We don't take a double look because we think, oh, yeah, that could be. We're only staring at each other. Okay. And they're running around fake as hell, fake lips, fake eye color, fake hair color. They don't have curly hair too much unless they have some admixtures. And so they have to get perms. They get body waves, perms. Nobody busts their chops. Okay. They also have nappy hair from being mixed and not wanting to admit it. So they get Brazilian blowouts. Nobody says anything. They don't have a fucking heckling section telling them you should wear your hair natural, stringy, with no body, and brown. They don't have that. Why do we? They don't have men running around talking about it's natural for you to have black hair on your white forearm. Why are you shaving that off? That's your natural hair. Why don't they have that? They want to get rid of that hair on their legs and arms. Black ass hair on their white ass leg and their white. I was literally driving with people that were shaving their forearms. I'm like, what are you doing? It was growing in on them. Okay. And they had to take it off in the car. It was an emergency. I've never shaved my arms or legs. Okay, I know some people shave their legs, but I've never shaved my arms or legs. I don't have hair on my arms or legs. So they don't have a heckling section saying that's your natural style. You have to keep hair on your arms and legs.
Wow.
Why are you taking that off? Why do we have all of this backlash? It's like white supremacy working while it's asleep because it's programmed us to attack each other
Wow.
on these grooming issues. We have the right to groom if we want to. Leave us alone.
I want to say something to what Wani said that's so powerful. Now, I can't take credit for this. I'm gonna give it, credit where credit's due to our brother Bobby Hemmett. You know what Bobby Hemmett brought to our attention 30 years ago? Bobby Hemmett said that Europeans, particularly English, they know the power that we possess. What's the highest profession? Lawyer in England. They call them barristers in Parliament. And Bobby Hemmett said, if you look at the wigs that they wear when they are making decisions, number one, the judges wear jet black robes, right? That's not a mistake. But Bobby Hemmett said, look at the wigs they wear in Parliament. I put a picture in the Jumbotron. He said, those wigs are nappy. Why? Because they're trying to assume some of our power. They know who we are. And this forcing us to adhere to some standard is, in my opinion, backed by Bobby Hemmett, it's jealousy. Go ahead, Kareem. Oh, Queen Kush, were you finished? I didn't know if you landed your plane, did you?
If I could just jump in here right quick, when you speak about our hair being our power, I don't know how many people go back to Bible stories. I look at the Bible as the book of allegory at this point in my life. But the book of or the story of Samson and his hair and the power of his hair. And when we think about the people that part of the planet or Earth where that those stories are supposed to take place, where dark people were. So we can only imagine what type of hair that Samson had. And when we think about our hair growing in its natural state, I remember what Brother Cash was saying, and I've said this in some of my own broadcasts, that my hair grows towards the sun.
Preach.
That makes me different. That makes me unique. I have had every hairstyle from my hair cut off to now growing it out into locks. And one thing about locks, they say is not to refer to them as dreadlocks. Some people refer to them as antenna. When we think about warfare and things like that, go back to the story of Samson. When did he become at his weakest? When his hair was cut. So when people are telling us to cover our hair, when people are telling us to cut our hair, to make it lay flat, to make it be in the way of people that do not have power, it's not just about jealousy, Professor. I also believe that that is another warfare tactic. And we think about that even in warfare. We think about the Japanese when they wanted to humble them in a way. They would cut that top knot. Hair comes with power. Your power is in the hair, and when people cut that hair, that is a warfare tactic. This is why I always say when people become a student of the art of war and you begin to recognize warfare tactics, every little thing, as you said, Professor, it's little idiosyncrasies that people don't think about. But our hair is our power. It's not a part of our power. It is our power. It's a warfare tactic to take our power.
I think our brother Dick Gregory said that our hair grows like an antenna. You said it grows to the sun. Could it be connecting us to something? It's just a thought. I think Kareem was up next. Kareem, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Our hair reaches to the universe. I think that's what Dick Gregory was referring to. And we are one with the universe. And white people know our power. They used to rub our hair, our children's hair, to be specific, to get power. I don't know if you guys saw that. I think that was in the Hidden Colors. They talked about that in the Hidden Colors. White people used to rub our children's hair
Yep.
to get energy. So they know our power. They know who we are. They know what we're capable of. And I'll land my plane.
Yeah, what the brother Kareem just said, I think our brother Tariq said this, but maybe it was in Hidden Colors. But in baseball, they would have you know, the go-to young man would be a foundational Black American young man, and they would rub his head before they pitched or batted. So yeah, that's historical. Um, Go ahead. We're gonna go to Grassroots, then we're going to Miss Stacy. Go ahead, Grassroots.
Yeah, what up? All right, so quick story. I'm
What's
gonna
up,
make it
bro?
quick. But this, the power of our hair. I should do furniture movie, right? And I remember me and my cousin we was putting together a sectional in a white woman's house. I still have locks, but my locks were a little shorter. But I remember the white woman was standing in front of me, and then I saw her. I'm always checking my surroundings, and I'm putting it together. And then I look up, she was gone. And I turned around, she was finna grab my hair. And I turned around, I was like, what the fuck? And she jumped. She was like, oh, I just wanted to touch your hair. I was like, why? She was like, I don't know, I just wanted to touch it. And that was I used to listen to that's when I started listening to like Black Power stuff, and and I was like, damn, they really be on this shit. Like they want to touch us. But that was just a story. But I'm saying, to the point, in my family, my hair has always been good hair. I've never grew up in this world where I thought my hair was lesser than other people's. I've always loved my hair. And then you got to embrace that. Like, I feel like nobody can tell you what your hair is like. Can't nobody whose hair is different and tell me what good hair is. Like, my hair grows out my scalp the way it's supposed to grow. And so that's how I've been a child. Like, my whole family always taught me, speak up, stand up. You're a Black person, you be strong. We from Chicago. So it's like, my family always, speak up. So I've never really had no inferiority complex when it comes to my hair. I've always loved my hair. So I'm not saying, but other Black people, I feel like, I've always I've run into Black children who kind of had that state of mind, which I tried to give them some sense of emboldeness. Like, nah, you love yourself. That's how I was raised. But then on to the next point, foreigners on our reparations. Can't nobody outside of your nation speak on what y'all going through. You can't have people who are choosing to come over here when this is our situation that's been going on for hundreds of years. This is our family here. For people to come over here and feel like they got some say so, to me, that's the ultimate disrespect. It's like for me to go over to Nigeria or any land or Japan. Let's say if I go to Japan and they dealing with some shit with some other people, and I'm like, yeah, y'all, who says y'all? It's the audacity to come to a land where the native population of people who built the nation, that even not only we built it, first of all, we built the wealth. And then outside of building the wealth, we put the work in to help outsiders come here. And then y'all come over here and then talk about shit that, y'all deserve, when y'all have no connection to what and the atrocities and the struggles that our ancestors went through to even make that shit happen. Because y'all didn't want to stay where y'all was at. Because I tell you this, my BM, her best friend came from Rwanda, right? From the slaughter that happened where they killed over 1 million people. They cool. I give them their credit. They cool, because when I talked to her friend, she said, I never was against you. She said, I came over here. The only people I felt connected to was y'all. She said, they tried to tell us not fuck with y'all, but she said, y'all the only people who look like us. Everybody else look different. Her and her brothers always fuck with Black Americans. But, that's few and far in between. Everybody don't rock that way. That's from outside. You feel me?
Yes, sir. It's very true.
So, but it's that y'all came from a land that you had Black people who slaughtered damn near 1 million other. Yeah, they say, well, y'all got gangs. Ain't no gang in America thinking about slaughtering 1 million Black people.
Well, what I'm seeing that I have to address in this space, and I stay away from being pejorative towards people, but I have to address this. What I'm starting to see is people who don't even live in America. People who live in other countries coming in our spaces, giving us advice on how to get reparations. From what term?
It's like, who are y'all?
Yeah.
It's the absurdity. But that's why they see, we don't have main character syndrome. We just do our thing.
Right.
They give us main character syndrome because they're always focused on what the fuck we doing.
Right.
And then it's like it's like they're not talking about Caribbeans. Jamaicans, that island's getting overrun right now by Asians. Why ain't y'all talking about that? You got people over there and goddamn you in England talking about some Black Americans get white. You understand the only reason that y'all got identity in the film industry is because of Black Americans? It's like their ignorance to everything about their existence as being something that's identified and acknowledged is because of us.
Right. Right.
And it's like y'all be getting slaughtered in y'all homelands, but y'all run to another nation and find some sense of identity. But then you see these other people thousands of miles away that look like you, but they getting mad work done. They They literally putting on work, and you getting mad because look, they're the face of. I look like them, but they're doing way better than us over there. And it's not just one person; it's a group. They're doing great things, and so all these black people across the planet, they're like, why the fuck these black Americans? It's like we never said nothing about we're better. We just move. We just do our thing. It's just in our spirit to move
Right.
and challenge white supremacy. And that's what they don't get. We are the only group that has dealt with the atrocities. Like, think about it. Babies being thrown alligators. Tell me what group of black people can say that happened to their children.
Right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Miss Stacy, but before we do,
I
before
yeah, I'll
no,
leave.
I
I'll land.
appreciate you, brother. Before we move on, ladies and gentlemen, please share out the space if you don't mind. Share out the space. Miss Stacy, what's going on? It's good to see you.
Oh, I accidentally had my mic on. I'm sorry. I was
No, you
I
good,
didn't even
honey.
realize it. I just looked at just now. Let me take my hand down. Second. So I'm good. How is everybody doing in the room?
Doing good. Good to see you. What's on your mind?
Thank you. So I was just, I saw the topic, and I'm gonna go backward. Are anchor babies Black American? No, not at all. I mean, sure, there's some that are cool that will, we welcome them, we ride with them, nice to them, they're nice to us, but they're just not, they're not us, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's my issue is the ones who act like they're mad because they're not, or they think that they assume that we're against them. It's like, we're not. It's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I used to tell people all the time, be proud of who you are. It no matter what race you are, it's okay to be proud of who you are as a person. You don't have to try to be like somebody else. But also that gives us the right to be proud of who we are as well. You can be proud of who you are, but don't get mad at us for being proud of who we are. That's a one-sided thing. Um, should foreigners speak on our reparations? Hell no. And that's the other thing I never understand. I am like flabbergasted every time I hear something thinking, why is this your business? What do you have to do with what we going through? We didn't speak on Jews getting their money. We didn't speak on the Indians. I mean, we might mention it sometimes because some of us really were, or were in those tribes, and then they took our people out of it so they didn't have to pay us, and then pay their little $5 so they could get the money, um, or get the benefits from that. So, but the Japanese, did we speak on that? No, because that didn't have nothing to do with it. That's not our business. The only thing we might have said was well, when we gonna get ours? Because you've been owing us for a lot longer than them, and way more, and we've suffered a lot more and continue to have stuff pushed against us. So anybody who is not an FBA has no business, no right. Nobody who did not come from where we come from, who are not us, that's old reparations, has no business speaking on our reparations. What is good hair? The sister earlier that mentioned Samson, it was so funny that she said that, because I think I had raised my hand around that time. That was exactly what I was going to talk about. Because somebody had mentioned about the hair being our strength, and I was like, every time we talk about hair, that's the first thing. One of the first things I think about is Samson and his hair and being his strength. And I remember this is kind of a personal thing. I mean, growing up, my mom, she'd always make comments, because my mom, she has really like her curly wavy hair, and people are always telling her, they don't really say she has good hair. I've heard people say it, but usually they'll just say she has beautiful hair. They just say, oh my gosh, your mother has beautiful hair. But my mom would use the term good hair. Sometimes she would say, uh you used to have good hair, like when I was little, but as I got older, and then she said, now it's nappy, which my hair is just naturally curly. I always say that. But a lot of people will tell me, oh, you got good hair. Your hair is, and I'm just like, it's just hair, and I kind of downplay it because it's thin, and it's always been like that. My sister had both of my sisters. I always say they got the hair grow gene. I didn't get that. Their hair is so thick and grows so fast. and mine doesn't. And it's just thin, it's curly. Um, and I remember getting a perm in my, I think I was still a teenager, like 19, 18, and 19. And I remember my hairdresser, Rashidi, and he would, when he would do my perm, sometimes it just never, the root would never take. It would always still be wavy. The rest of my hair would go straight, but right there in the very center, right at the root, would still be. And I asked him about that. And I said, yeah, somebody said that's because you got good hair. He says, if you got hair, it's good. And I used to go with that because, you know, he did hair, he was a hairdresser or whatever. And then as time went on and the more, you know, I start to learn about other people, and then I kind of disagree. I don't think, and I'm not trying to be, you know, but I can say, okay, some people have nice hair or their style is nice or they get certain things done. But I think honestly, I think our hair is the better hair because we could do so many things with it. And we don't need a whole bunch of hairspray. And, oh, my mama trying to call me. I'm sorry. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah,
She
I
gonna
hear you,
have to wait.
sis.
I'm gonna have to call her back. Uh, but yeah, her ear must be burning. What was I saying? She made me forget what the heck I gotta say. I'm
You were
almost
saying
done.
we don't have to put stuff in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. We don't have to put a whole bunch of. I mean, we can put some product in our hair and different things, but we don't have to put like no whole tons of mousse and hairspray just to hold a style. And always, and the things that we can do with our hair, you know, we could put braids in it, and it ain't gonna just slide out. You know, it's just I don't. I'm 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 losing, kind of losing what I'm trying to say, but I think y'all understand what I'm trying to say. But we are just, uh, we just, fuck it, we just the bomb. Period. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say that we just the bomb, and I think everybody here, whatever, like like she said earlier, I can't remember who was speaking, but I think I know that sister. But she was saying that the way her hair grows out um and it grows up, like yeah, we have the better hair. We are, it's we can just, I'm a land because I'm getting stuck. I can't gather my thoughts I'm not putting my thoughts into words properly right now, but I think y'all know what I'm saying. And
Oh yeah, you're being real real clear and succinct. We're gonna get a
yeah,
couple.
sending my love to everybody, and I'm gonna go ahead and land my plane.
Oh yeah, much love. I just noticed our brother Tariq is on, so I'm gonna get a couple more speakers. I think Tariq is on. Is that correct? Um, yeah. So we're gonna get a couple more speakers, and then we're gonna join up on Tariq's page. Go ahead, little brother.
Peace to the room. Peace to you, Professor, man. You laying it out. Peace to Nikki the God. Wani, I love you, darling. And you know, the sisters have forget about when they used to, you remember my mama, grandma and them used to do that hot comb on the hair to straighten it
Oh,
out.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. My little
You know.
sister and them be hollering.
I mean, but hey, it was straight and you didn't need no perm. And uh, I got my brother. I want to say he's a Hebrew. I want to say he's Hebrew, but he studied under Dr. Malachi York, and he had brother York had broke it down. We have 9 ether hair,
Yep.
meaning our hair follicles are solid while everybody else drapes.
Mm-hmm.
And funny man, brother, you had me rolling because I done had some white boys I work with. They old lady would tell me, "Hey, go take a shower and you can have some. We can make love tonight." I'm like, damn. But I look at that because they hairy, the back hairy, the front hairy, hair shooting all over. I'm looking like that ain't no hair, that's fur. And I land my plane, brother. Peace to you, man.
Peace to you too. Thank you, little brother, for showing up.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Yes, sir.
in the jumbotron, you'll see Wani Spots, Cash App, and Nikki the Guy's Cash App. Show them love for their scholarship and dedication. In addition, if you want to copy my book, where I talk about good hair and the origins of it in Ghana, at Cape Coast, in Elmina Castle, go ahead and put $25 on my Cash App, Our Story Publications, and I'll send a book out shortly. A couple of you. I sent books out the other day. Fresh, check your DM. I put the tracking number in there. So,
Now, I just wanted to say mutants cannot determine anything about anybody.
facts.
You're literally a mutant. You are a collection of mutations. And if we want to straighten our hair, we can, because we've been doing it before the white man showed up. They don't own hairstyles. Okay? We can do whatever we want to do with our hair. But that's the point. The point is, we were already styling our hair before being colonized, and we shouldn't have to adhere to anything that a mutant is telling us about our hair.
Facts.
That's the 2 points I want to make.
Right, right. Our last speaker of the day is going to be Mark. And Cash, make a quick comment, and then Mark will be the last speaker.
Yeah, my bad. I should have touched the reparations when I had the mic last
No,
time.
you good, bro.
Uh, um, uh, Three quick points,
Go ahead.
just about media literacy. So, I want to say I posted up above. There's a compilation of people who look black, as far as they would be racialized as black, but are from different ethnicities and are speaking against reparations for Black Americans in America. Um, I only mention that because we have our own domestic coons, but importing them is where I consider these people to be cosplayers or tethers. The fact that they're represented in media alone is a harm against our community. Similar to Come to find out, and Wani mentioned this earlier, blonde people are only 1% of the population, but they're overrepresented in media to the tune of 30%, 30.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's propaganda. You know what I'm saying? And so the same thing is what's pinned up above. These people are propagandists trying to speak against our claim as a model minority buffer, obviously because wouldn't be eligible and they don't see a utility in something that they're not eligible for. My last point is just I can't believe the arrogance that they would speak on such a monumental issue in a country they've newly arrived in when they don't notice that after 400 years of us having built this country, we shouldn't be competing against them in hiring, but instead the ones hiring them and housing them, and that's a red flag they should notice in and of itself. And the fact that they don't shows that they're here to undermine us, and that's why I give them no sympathy. And I'm glad that you shout out that a lot of these people are anchor babies who Trump is starting to address. So I'll rest mic there.
Oh yeah, and quick comment on that. We need to start. Well, what I'm gonna start doing when people come trying to advise me on what terms to use and showing me evidence of what we need to do to get reparations, I'm just gonna start politely asking, "Are you a Black American? What's your lineage?" Just that simple, because I'm sick and tired of it. Mark Anthony, you have last words, and we're gonna meet back up on Tariq's page. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, how you doing, Professor Alan,
Yes,
Nikki,
sir.
and Juan?
Doing good, bro.
Um, I'm good. I'm good. I'll make it quick. What is good here? I think is relative. That's a relative question, but I'll just speak on our hair. We have very unique hair, and I look at it as a representation of many things of our history in this country, what we've been through, our unique, just our uniqueness to this land and our unique spirit, and we could just do unique things with our hair. We've been able to do unique things with our hair throughout history, from like straightening to jerry curls, 360 waves, finger waves, you name it. We've had it. So we have a very unique uh hair texture, and we've been made to, you know, the white, the YT people, was trying to talk greasy about our hair and make their hair the standard of beauty, but we've learned to embrace our uniqueness. So, and then should foreigners speak on our reparations? No, they shouldn't. They don't have a right to, and we don't have a right to speak, matters of their country, because if we try to, they'll tell us to f off. So we have every right to tell them to F off. And our anchor babies, black Americans, no. No, you might have been born on American soil, but you're not ingrained in the soil. So, you don't have any connection. You were just born here. So that's my answer to that question. And I'll land there.
Appreciate you guys. That's true. On what is good hair? It's the hair that we were given. We have the best hair. Um, Dick Gregory said our hair looks just like a DNA coil, and a DNA coil, the double helix, is representative of the universe. Our hair reaches out to the universe, ladies and gentlemen. Don't change it. Ladies, I want to let you know that your natural hair is sexy. It's nothing more sexy to me. I'm telling my business now. It's nothing more sexy to me than a sister that like got a afro puff and she pull it back into one big afro puff. I love that shit. You know what I'm saying? Sisters, you don't have to alter your hair. The hair God gave you is what black men want. Come take it from me. Should foreigners speak on our reparations? Hell no. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of people coming in here saying, use this word, use that word. This is going to work because this is. Are you black American? Well, no. I'm in Montreal, but da, da, da. I don't want to hear it. Why are you in my business? Black Americans, let's gatekeep our business. This is our business. And last but not least, are anchor babies black American? No, they're not. And that's not an insult. We mean no harm by saying that. It's just the truth. When has the truth become an insult? We're just telling the truth in here. I really appreciate y'all. We will continue. If you didn't get a chance to speak today, you'll get a chance tomorrow. We're going to reconvene on Tariq's page. Wani, you have any last words? Nikki?
Good night.
Any last words, Nikki?
Yeah, the space was too short. So we're gonna have to talk about this tomorrow, I think.
Oh, yeah. We'll continue tomorrow. All right,
Okay.
guys. I'll see y'all later.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. Peace out, y'all.